Let's go, bro.
Hey guys, I've already done an
So, for context, right now we're trying to figure out how to see people in Hella Loose because we always get shot from who knows where. And before we start the game, we're gonna watch this little tutorial on how to see the enemy and see if we can put into practice whatever they're gonna be teaching us here.
insane amount of guides and videos on Hella Loose, but there are a couple of issues that keep coming up in comment sections time and time again. I am constantly seeing people complain that they pop their heads out of cover and get domed without being able to see the enemy or tell where the shots are coming from. I tried addressing this in my How Not to Die video, but given how prevalent the issue seems to be, I decided to make this video and take the topic head on. So, I'll be going over how to deal with this situation. First, I'll talk about the problem itself, and then I'll go over some tips regarding gameplay and some concepts like map awareness that you should be thinking about not only when dying all the time, but pretty much at all times while playing Hella Loose. But before that, I would like to give a huge shout out to my Patreon subscribers. Thank you all so much for your continued support.
Oh, one sec, I'm getting some clicking. I'm gonna pull this up real quick. Okay, it shouldn't be that bad. What's going on?
If you enjoyed these videos, please check out the full playlist of Hella Loose guides and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Alright, let's start by understanding what the problem is and why it happens. Now, the problem here isn't actually seeing the enemy in a Where's Waldo sense. This game doesn't suffer from the Battlefield 5 issue where you sometimes can't see people laying down directly in.
Yeah, here's what we're gonna do. BDM. Go that through MME. And we'll run this through MME.
In front of you. You can hide yourself effectively in some areas, but if you're being shot by someone that's 10 or 20 meters away, just...
That is still happening. What is going on here, bro?
Laying down on the grass, chances are you will probably see them. The problem lies in the sheer amount of cover available and the distance at which...
It's kind of sad, bro. What's the issue?
Engagements happen. There is a wide variety of different map designs in Hella Loose, ranging from wide open fields like Purple Heart Lane
I wonder if you guys can hear that.
to the claustrophobic city streets of Carentan. In maps with wide open terrain, you need to try to move along any small ridge or terrain difference in the map, be it a fence, a set of trees, or a house. When you get shot, assume that the enemy is doing the same, so look for enemies along roads, the edges of forests, and so on. Now, forest maps like Hurgen and Hill 400 are a beast of their own, and I bet that's where most people are having problems spotting enemy soldiers. The first key to understanding why you're not being able to see the enemy is realizing that you can't play maps like Hill 400 the same way you play Carentan or Utah Beach. It is extremely easy to spot someone when they are running through a forest, and it is extremely hard to spot someone that's laying down in one. Every single tree could have an enemy hiding behind it, which means when you get shot in a place like this, there's just no way you're going to be able to spot your shooter. Compare this to this street in Carentan, where you only have a handful of places where an enemy could be hiding, or a field in Utah Beach where there are breaks in the hedgerows. These are entirely different situations and require entirely different approaches. If you're being constantly pinned down in a forest map, you will have to try a completely different angle of approach that blocks the view and angles that you were exposed to earlier. In less dense maps, you can get away with running to the next ditch or the next city street. And that's where the second part of the problem comes in, how players are reacting to getting killed from seemingly nowhere. Most players will want to get revenge and they will spawn at the exact same spot, run roughly towards the same area, and poke their head around to scan the area, try and see where they got shot, and 90% of the time, this will get you absolutely nowhere and you'll be shot again and again and again. As I mentioned earlier, there is often just way too many places to check, and the enemy already knows where you are or where you'll likely be. This is even worse if you're a regular soldier. If you're an officer, using your binoculars goes a long way and can help a ton because you can scope people out from beyond their effective range of fire and use it to try and locate the enemy. But whether soldier or officer, trying to spot and shoot a concealed enemy from roughly the same spot is almost always a bad idea. The enemy already has the upper hand in the engagement. It's the reason why you got shot in the first place, so chances are you are still really visible to the enemy whether you are coming from 20 meters to the right or 20 meters to the left. It's just not a good strategy and one that will lead to more and more frustration. So, how do you deal with this situation effectively? Well, there's a bunch of different concepts that I want to touch on. First, let's start with map awareness. Whether it's your first time playing a map or your 50th, you should be able to get a lot of information from just looking at the map. Pay attention to where the sectors are, where the enemy can build garrisons, and where they could have OPs. Think about where the brunt of the enemy forces will be coming coming from and where their flanks are. This is made even easier when your teammates are spread out and are already fighting the enemy, and you have a bunch of spawn points acting as radar. Some of this will come with experience, but you should be able to tell at a glance which areas are probably quite risky and which are relatively safe. It doesn't matter exactly where the enemy is, but getting a feel for enemy density and possible lines of defense and attack is absolutely paramount at getting good in this game. Your map is your first resource at learning to predict and react to where the enemy is. Look at it and spot pieces of cover like woods, trenches, tall grass, and assume that the enemy will use them to get a good vantage point when they are trying to defend. Once you've narrowed down where the enemy might be shooting from, assume that there might be enemies up to 100 meters to either side and act accordingly. The second point I want to mention that this brings up is the need to flank. And by flanking, I don't mean running along the other side of the road or try to approach from 50 or 100 meters away. I'm going halfway across the map to go completely around the enemy position. I mean getting enough distance from whoever shot you that even if they happen to see you again, they will not be able to land a good shot. 2 grid squares, 400 meters, 450 meters away. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you need to do a flank. Yes, it will take a long time and you won't be able to get very far unless you're a squad leader or part of a squad that's actively trying to do this, but that's what you need to do. Try setting up a garrison that will let you respawn if your OP gets taken down while you try and flank. If you keep heading down the same stretch of terrain, the same grid, the same general area of attack, you will keep going down. Matches can be really long, so taking 5 to 10 minutes to run through enemy territory and set up a decent spawn point is absolutely worth the time investment. That said, I think it's important to mention that getting killed often is absolutely part of this game. That's the way Hell Loose works, the way the spawn points work. It's how you get the illusion that you're fighting more than just 50 people on the other side, because lives are kind of expendable, and attacks generally require tons and tons of infantry to succeed, which usually means a lot of deaths. You will run into situations where you're trying to push a point and die over and over and over again, and that's fine. That is just part of what's going to happen. Take a look at this footage, for example. I took my squad all the way around the map to finally get into a great flanking position from the north, which is precisely what I was talking about earlier. Once I set down my OP, we started pushing the point, and I might have died 10 or 15 times while trying to get inside the strong point and take down their garrison. Of course, it was frustrating, but it was also extremely effective at creating an opportunity, a distraction, so that the main bulk of my team could push from the front lines. I did manage to sneak in and take down the enemy garrison, but even after that, I still died over and over again because of the sheer amount of enemies defending the point. In the end, we managed to beat that round, and I ended up with a score of 19 kills and 40 deaths. A lot of people might look at that and think that I played really badly, but that is not the case. The fact that I managed to take down their garrison, which led us to capping the point and eventually winning the round, is way
so
more
bad.
important and had a...
What am I doing here? MME.
much greater impact on the game than getting more frags would. Matches in Hell Loose can last over an hour.
Does that sound bad to you
so getting
too?
killed 10 times.
Jesus. Fuck. Alright, 838.
Hey guys, I've always...
Sounds so fucking bad. We're gonna restart Chrome altogether. Give it a sec. What is the issue? Bro. What do you do? What's happening over here? Why does that sound so bad? We're gonna restart the computer. We'll be right back.